Hello and welcome to the Starters Order 6 Online League review show for the flat week 5. We've got an action-packed show for you today. We're going to take an in-depth look at about 10 races. We've got 5 Group 1s, 4 of which were classics. We've got some great insights from Timmy, and we've got Doug doing the fastest run-through in sports history. So we're going to get straight on with it and straight out to a chat now with Doug. Right, big week of racing again this week then. I've got Doug with me. We're going to go through the races from last week, starting off with the big Group 1s, and first place to start obviously is the Derby. How you doing, Doug?
I'm good, Martin. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How did you see the old Derby then? It was a bit of a disappointing field, I thought, but how did you see the race?
Well, I think James Harrison would be cock-a-hoop because the Derby gave him his second Group 1 in 3 races. So, with his Transcendent winning the Derby, favourite Little Sprocket dived late for second, and Dashiata was a length away from the winner in third. And I thought Elkie Warthog, that was brave in fourth spot as well.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing to see that none of the big trial runners were in the race, none of the trial winners, and nothing from the Guineas either. Really, it was a strange field, wasn't it? Really, and that's difficult to sort of evaluate whether the form's any good or not, because they all finished a bit tight, didn't they? I wouldn't say anything absolutely dominated the race or looked like a world beater.
I thought, Little Sprocket was your form line. That was, for me, that was the favourite going into the race and the one to beat. To be honest with you, I was surprised it lost, but you can't take anything away from Transcendent, and it made the rest of the horses work, and Little Sprocket did dive late, but it still didn't get over the line, so it's all the glory goes to Transcendent.
Well, he come second in a maiden before, it hadn't won a race, I don't think.
Oh really? Yeah, I didn't know its form, so to bob up like that, it was just sensational, and maybe that, still the even weights is what helped as well. Yeah, I still think Little Sprocket wasn't disappointing. I just thought it was going to win.
Yeah, it looked like it was the only one in the race that had any decent sort of form, really, but we're going to have horses running in it that have only run once, then we don't really know how good they are, do we? That's so it's going to be difficult to evaluate the form. We're going to talk about the French Derby later on, and that the form in that one seems to be much stronger. And for some reason, the better horses seem to go in that one. I don't know what a lot of the trainers were thinking about, but they didn't really seem to give the Derby the respect it deserves, I don't think, because to only have sort of 10 runners, and I'm not so sure that all those trainers that put their horse in have put their best horse in that race, to be honest. Where was the one that won the Dante last week? What was that? Yellow Sub, was it? That wasn't in the race. Yep. There's nothing out of the Guineas in there. It's a strange looking lineup.
Yeah, maybe some of the trainers just scared away from the bigger trainers. Maybe they just think, in Thunder Spark or Stephen Rann or PJ Rhodes, they got the top horses, so I'll go looking elsewhere. Looking for another group race somewhere else where they think they might dodge the big trainers. So, but I think if you've got a horse that's won leading up to it, have a crack.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There's certainly a few horses I thought would be in that race that weren't in it, but we'll see what Transcendent does next. Where do you think that'll go next? Is that liable to run again soon? Irish Derby, maybe, do you think? Will it run at Ascot next week?
James Harrison, he'll take it everywhere. Have Saddleworld travel. This horse, I reckon he'll enter it in all the big ones now.
Yeah, they work these horses quite hard, don't they? They run every week, most of them. It must be quite tiring being a Starters Order 6 online league horse, because they don't get a day off very often, do they?
No, not at all.
So anything out the back there? Any interest?
No, just Elkie Warthog. I thought that was pretty brave, and wasn't going to beat them, but it was right on their hammer. So I thought that horse was worth a mention.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And the ones that you expected to be up there, I suppose, were up there, weren't they? The Transcendent and Little Sprocket and Dushiator and Plymouth Rock were up there as well, weren't they? So it was pretty much what you'd expected, I suppose, from that lineup. But I don't think it's going to be a world beater. But it looked all right. I'm sure he'll probably win again, but I wouldn't fancy his chances coming up against some of the better ones.
Yep. Okay.
The Oaks.
Well, again, the favourite got beaten again. Typhoon Gale was our winner. He rattled home at a rate of knots to take up the Oaks for Thunder Spark. Paris Sister and Night Crawler were just as brave in second and third. I thought Lady Oaks was awfully unlucky to just miss a place, really. I thought it was going to lead all the way there and just died on its run. And
it looked like it.
Yeah, it sort of gave up. It was the last half furlong, 100 metres to go, and I just couldn't quite run out the race. And a bit disappointing, it missed the place. Gray would have been disappointing. He got fourth.
Yeah, I think that's probably better than he expected it to finish, because it won a handicap, hadn't it, the week before. But yeah, that did run well. The winner was good as well. Again, there were a few missing out of that race that I thought would be in there that who ran in other races instead. It wasn't a bad race. That one I thought it was a better race than the Derby, to be honest.
Oh, right, yeah, fair. That's a fair call.
It was a good win, and that Paris Sister didn't look too bad. Oh, they did it. That ran quite well. And
Paris Sister, yep.
And Nightcrawler as well. They all sort of stayed well, didn't they? I think if they come up against the Colts, I think the fillies might beat them.
Yeah, well, that's a good call. If you put both these fields together, the Oaks and the Derby together, I think you'd see probably Typhoon Gale and Paris Sister taking out the Quinella.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. There's some nice horses out the back as well, so there'll be some winners out there, won't there? And I'm sure some of the beaten horses will probably go for the Ribblesdale next week, won't they, at Ascot?
Yeah, I thought outside of fourth placing, none of the other horses look like they're up to Group 1. I suppose you can't rule out Mismanaged from Stephen Rand's stable, but they had a chance in the race, so no, that's right.
I think it's the fact that the French have reduced their Derby and Oaks, or the Prix de Jockey Club and the Prix de Diane, down to a mile and a quarter, has affected the Derby quite a bit in this, because people tend to think, well, you know what, I don't want to risk going up from a mile to a mile and a half, but I'll have a go at going up from a mile to a mile and a quarter, and it might be alright. So I think quite a few of the horses that I would have liked to have seen in the Oaks and the Derby ended up running in the French version. So they were better races, but we'll talk about them later. We will. Right, Coronation Cup then, that was a good race, wasn't it? That was a really good race and good form. How did you say about that, Sugesco?
Sugesco was gave James Harrison his first of his 2 Group 1 wins. On 11 for Paul Rhodes, fought the whole way but couldn't deny Sugesco. Lopez Arms for Greg Clutterbuck made a long and sustained run from the back of the pack to just snatch third. So all the accolades go towards Sugesco for a great win.
They do, and that was back to form with a bang, wasn't it? Because it had been disappointing last time, but the form from earlier in the season, I think was that running in right at the very first week and everything, and that's a good strand of form that Sugesco's got. I'm sure that was running against Unexplained and horses like that earlier on in the season, so it was good to see that back to form, and it won really well. But it was, I don't know if you noticed, but I think it was one of those horses that got in right at the last minute, because the trainer nearly missed the entry, just managed to slip in, and probably glad he did get it in. So I think he probably owes Gray a drink there for that one, because that was
yeah, it's probably a 6-pack of beer just quietly changing hands.
I should think so, because he just got it in time. But that's a good horse, that one, and I'm looking forward to seeing that racing against some of the 3-year-olds later in the season. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, and I thought Coronata and Through Glass and Mainframe, they were 3 horses that were unlucky and to not take third spot. I'm sure if he ran the race again, either of those 3 would have found third placing. So they were unlucky, and they've obviously got the hoof on the till as well for a bit of cash. So keep an eye out for them in the future as well. Yeah,
good race that. Looking forward to seeing some of them running again. So that was the three big Group 1s at Epsom.
Prix du Jockey Club, Pepperoni Pete.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, before we talk about the race, I don't know if everybody's aware, because there's lots of people in different countries and stuff, but this Prix du Jockey Club is the French Derby. What happens with this is it's always the same sort of week as what I keep jokingly calling the real Derby, but the Derby Epsom. I think the French got a bit fed up of all their best horses coming to run in the English version, and it must be quite a few years ago now. They dropped it down to a mile and a quarter, and what that's done is it's taken a lot of the horses where they don't want to risk whether it stays a mile and a half or acts on the track at Epsom, and channeled it into the French race instead. And that's why when you look at this field, I think the field for this race was far superior to the field for the Derby Epsom. To get onto the race in itself, Pepperoni Pete back to form with a bang and going on the turf as well.
Yeah, it was disappointing last start, Pepperoni Pete, and Stephen Rand stuck with him, and obviously, well, there you go, Stephen. He might have been thinking the same way with the actual Derby. Pepperoni Pete failed last start. I'll take it elsewhere, and he may have made a mistake. Maybe he should have left it at Epsom.
Oh yeah, I mean, it did. I don't know how far it will stay, but it didn't look like it was stopping at the end to me. But it's good to see it winning on the turf as well. So it won the first of the Kentucky Derby, didn't it? On dirt, and now it's just won that one on turf. So that means it should be competitive later in the season. If we get all those horses together in something like the Eclipse later on, that's going to be a race and a half. That is, hoping that's where they're all going to go next. Although Pepperoni Pete might go back over over to America, mightn't it, next week for the last leg of that Triple Crown?
One, isn't it?
Yeah, if Zara approval's still there, I know whether it would be worth his while taking that one on again. He might think he'd be better off going somewhere else.
We'll soon find out. Purple Duck ran second for James Shear.
Yeah, that ran well as well, didn't it?
Zuata third for Darren Thompson.
Yeah, and I think was that Zuata, the one that was second in the American race last week as well. So that form from those American races is really standing up well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely good form line through there.
And Entrance to Heaven that had been close up in the race, that ran well as well in sixth as well. So that was a good race. I enjoyed that race, and I thought it was some good horses going to come out of that. And I think they'll all those probably front half a dozen will all pick up a decent racer, I think.
And it's good to see Timmy Cole, Purple Duck.
Yeah.
Good work, Tim. We're both giving you the big thumbs up there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to talk about Tim's boom later. I think his boom wasn't anywhere near as big as yours and Mike's, but he called it to win though, so he probably thinks that that's better. So. That's for a different race though, isn't it? But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that Pepperoni Pete take on some of those other horses, and it's good to see it back to form after its disappointing run last week.
Yep, I think you'll find Stephen Rand step it back up to the Classics race again.
Yeah, I still think that there's an argument to be put forward for letting some of these bigger trainers run two in these big races, because sometimes I think the problem is that they've got too many good ones, and I think if the field isn't full, maybe we'll let them slip a second one in, because it'll make it far more competitive sometimes, because I'm pretty sure that he's got quite a few good horses over that sort of distance, and it's a case of, well, I'll put Pepperoni Pete in that one and I'll put so-and-so in that one, rather than running them against each other. But that's a different discussion for a different day.
I suppose it's pronounced the Prix de Diane Longines.
Yeah, the Prix de Diane.
Or have I got that all wrong?
No, it's called the Prix de Diane. The Longines bit is the sponsor, because it used to be the Prix de Diane Hermes years ago. So they do it the other way around in France. Well, they do quite a lot of things the other way around in France, don't they? But that's the French Oaks. That was a good race as well, wasn't it? And Piccolo was in that, which I was expecting to run at Epsom.
Yes, yeah, you're right. And that was probably a little disappointing at Chantilly. And Venus de Milo, it's finished too good for River June. And but Piccolo looked the goods, but folded up in the last furlong.
Yeah, he did, and that was another good race. That Venus de Milo really did come through well, and there's an interesting form line in this as well, because that River June came second, and that was running well as well. Now, the week before, that had run against the Colts in the Dante, and finished I think it finished third or fourth.
Yep.
So I think Purple Duck was in front of it, which was second in the race before, which makes you wonder, where did Yellow Sub go last week? Why wasn't that in one of those races? Because that won the Dante, and it won it well, but it's not running up in any of these races. So I can't off the top of my head think who the trainer is, but it may be because he wasn't allowed to run it because he got another one in. But you've got to think that Yellow Sub, having beaten that River June the week before, I think that's a Colt, so it would probably have to have gone in one of the derbies. But you'd have thought if it could have got in, that would have been somewhere thereabouts, because that form's looking good.
I don't even think the Yellow Sub ran at all.
It didn't,
last week.
And I think the only reason it couldn't have done is because the trainer had got another horse in the race. So that's got some good form, so we'll keep an eye out when that one comes out next, and it looks like it ought to do well. But back to this race, top trainers up there again, because it's the same name, isn't it? The first 3 or 4 places all the time at the moment. They've got some pretty powerful stables, haven't they?
David Robinson did a good job there with Streep to get in amongst them as well. So,
and that forms sort of those Nebraskan horses from Vinnie Gerald. They're always thereabouts, aren't they? 5th, 6th, or whatever in those big races. He's picking off the handicaps, but he's getting he's always around and about in those big races, which gives you a good idea what the form's like. And
as I said before, Vinnie Gerard, he's a trainer on the up, and last season he didn't have any horses that were really threatening these races, but this season so far he's picking up winners here and there, and in the bigger races he's got horses that are finishing right up behind him, so keep a lookout for him next season. I'm sure he's going to be getting into the placings next season for sure.
Yeah, that's good. But that back to the winner, that one well. That will stay another 2 furlongs, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting when all these middle distance horses start racing against each other, the older ones as well. That should be good. So we think we're going to get like this Venus de Milo and Sajesco and horses like that racing against each other later on in the season. It should get pretty good. But overall, with those classics, I think the French races were slightly better than the English ones. I think the form of the French races will probably hold up better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, I agree with you, definitely. Okay, race 11 was at Fred Temple Stakes, Haydock, and that was a Group 2, and a big win for Lock Song.
Yeah, it ran well, didn't it? And it stayed on as well, and it was always up in the lead, up with the leaders, and it stuck its neck out and won quite well in the end.
Yep, Excel Raver.
That ran well as well. So did Kentucky Light. It was difficult to work out sometimes these sprint races, aren't they? Because they're going over in a flash, and they all tend to beat each other each week, don't they? One week, one will win one week, one will win the next week.
And across the track there, you look at your margin: 3/4 length, quarter, a short head, a length, short head. So it was a busy finish.
It was that Ninja Turtle that came fourth. Didn't you call that to win last week?
Well, that was close up, but I also noticed in the comment section as well, the first 4, they were all on the pace. Front rank early, well placed, steady early. It was down to Zasteria for Thunderspark. That come from behind, behind, progressed to midfield halfway. But it's always, even in my own game, I never like a sprinter that comes from behind. I always like them up on the pace.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble, aren't you, really, if you're a sprinter that needs to be held up at the back, because you've got the slower ones that are stopping, that are coming back, getting in the way, and then you've got to get a gap, and you need a brave horse to get through the gaps, and you need a brave jockey to get through the gaps as well. And but if you're up there in the lead, you don't have to worry about that. And Lock Song was always up in the lead there. Yep. Up in the leading group, won it well. Suppose some of those horses might step up to Group 1 and go for the King's Stand at Ascot next week. That should be a good race as well.
Yeah, that will be a good race. Well, I won't have a horse in it, but it'll be a good race to watch.
Okay, so before all the Group 1s at Epsom, then we had the Diamond, didn't we? Which is a Group 3 race, just a little bit over a mile. Lots of horses in that had run in the Guineas and stuff the week before. So how did you see that one?
Yeah, it was an interesting race. Good win for Rivermore, for Thunderspark Stable, and that flew home to beat Persian Heights. Controversially, the jockey of Persian Heights just dropped his hand, stopped riding in the last half furlong.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? It did look like he thought he'd won.
Yeah, if it was real life, he'd go a row, but John Morgan must have just thrown his hands up. Like, he would have been bitterly disappointed. The Bulldozer ran third, but overall Rivermore showed its class today.
Well, yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because Rivermore and Persian Heights had both disappointed, hadn't they, in the Irish and the English 2,000 guineas the 2 weeks before. Yet now they're right back to form, weren't they? And those two trainers must be thinking, well, why didn't they run like that the last 2 weeks? Because the last 2 weeks they'd looked like they were nothing special at all, really, and yet they were right bang back in it.
Sometimes this game just mirrors the real life, where you get horses that you think are going to do a lot, and then don't, and then they just bob up, and it's the same with this game. And it's all credit to those bigger trainers. It probably helps they got big stables and they can have another crack at a big race, so to speak. So
if
the
they're both
trainers be thinking, my horse can't quite get there, so I might go look for something easier if I can.
Yeah, that was a Group 3, wasn't it? So they're going to dropping down from Group 1 to Group 3, but a lot of the horses that were running in the race were some of the same ones that had been running in the Group 1s before. So it doesn't always necessarily mean just because it's a Group 3 that it's any competition's any easier than a Group 2 or a Group 1 sometimes.
Exactly.
But I think the good thing for them is that they both run badly twice, and very often if you run badly once, but run badly twice on a trot, it's good to see them come back. I was surprised to see that De Bulldozer in the race, because I thought that he was staying on at the end of the Guineas, and I thought he could do his stepping up in trip. I thought he might give it a crack at the Derby, or he might give it a crack at the French Derby, and it was staying on again. So that definitely looks like it's got to go up in trip to me if it wants to win.
Yep. And the favourite was Ocumare de la Costa, I think it's pronounced, the last part of the word's not on the form guide here, but that was the favourite, and that had been running some cheeky races, and it just wasn't good enough on the day.
Yeah, and it's a funny track as well, Epsom, so it might have liked it. Another one I was a bit disappointed with, not necessarily so much with the way it ran, but with it being in the race in the first place, was that Solution, because that's another one that looked like it wants further to me. And if you look at the comments there, it says it was always outpaced. Well, in the two guineas, it was definitely running on at the end. So you'd think that's got to be a 10 furlong or so. I think.
Yep.
You got Gewalt Hirsch down there as well in 10th, chucking a bit of handicap form in. So that form will probably stand up okay, I think, and it'll be interesting to see if Rivermore and Persian Heights step back up to Group 1, or if they keep them down at Group 2 or 3. Right then, race 12, Jury Stakes at Haydock at 7 furlongs. It's just a bit of a specialist sort of distance, 7 furlongs. A lot of these horses were dropping back from a mile, I think. How did you see that one?
Oh, it was a good win for Captain Commander, and Lieutenant ran second, Stephen ran, and Vine Whip wasn't far away either in third place for Darren Thompson.
Yeah, and then you got Gravity in fourth as well. I'm pretty sure that Lieutenant and Gravity and Theresa May that finished sixth, pretty sure they'd all been running over a mile the last few weeks when they'd been up there sort of fighting out the places. So maybe the 7 furlongs was a bit sharp for them because they were all
maybe
on
just
a
a
bit,
bit quick. Yeah,
but I don't recall that Captain Commander. What he'd done before. That one was a new one on me. I must have missed that, but it was a good win.
Yeah, it's I can't recall its last race either, but it was good to see it get up.
It was. It's nice to see a different trainer winning there again as well. That's Peter Cahill again that won the 2,000 guineas. So he's getting some good winners as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's having a very good season. And you're right. And some of these horses a bit down the card here, that probably, as you said, maybe they just need another furlong or so, and usually we see them a little bit higher up the list.
Yeah, it's a specialist sort of distance, isn't it? 7 furlongs. I don't know why, but it always is. You get a lot of horses that will run over 5 furlongs and 6 furlongs, and you get a lot of horses that will run over a mile and a quarter, or a mile and a quarter and a mile and a half. But the 7 furlongers seem to just want to do 7 furlongs. They don't seem to quite have the speed to be a 6 furlong horse, and they don't have the stamina to last out a mile. But if you get a good 7 furlong horse, you can clean up those 7 furlong races, because it's a real specialist distance, 7 furlongs. And that Captain Commander might be worth keeping on side if it's going to do that, because it was in the lead most of the way, wasn't it?
Yep, that's right.
So yeah, that's a good race again, that one. And I think that Captain Commander will step up will probably get up to Group 1, which is where a lot of those others have been running anyway in Group 1 races over a mile. So that was the Jury Stakes then. Okay,
race 18 was the Seymour Piers Henry II Stakes from Sandown. It was a Group 3. And how'd you see that race, Martin?
That was that was a good race. This is a sort of a prep race for the Gold Cup, although it's half a mile shorter. That Cinder was right up there in the front quite a lot of time, and it was a real battler, and it won really well. Colin Eric ran well as well, but it was given a bit of a stiff task. He had to finish he finished really well. Couldn't get past the winner. Clever Girl ran well as well, but didn't seem to quite stay. So I think trainer from that one has ruled that one out of the Gold Cup now. But yeah, they're good races sometimes, those long distance ones, because there's a lot of sort of cat and mouse goes on, and a lot of just keeping your cards close to your chest for a bit. But that Cinder was doing none of that. It was out there to win, and it won. And it won well.
And Byron Eric for John Morgan ran second, and Star Orphan David Robertson, he was just in the minor money again.
Yeah, I think of those, the top two, I would guess, go to the Gold Cup, unless again those trainers have got something better specifically in mind for that race. But they both look like they get 2.5 miles. I don't think the third and the fourth will necessarily get the extra half mile. To be honest, there was one strange horse in there, which was Beduino, that horse of Mike's, because that started really well, and then it just suddenly absolutely stopped, and it dropped from first to last in the space of about a furlong halfway through the race. So I don't know what was up with that one, but it finished an absolute mile behind the others. So that was quite strange.
Yeah, maybe Mike accidentally put it into the wrong race. Maybe it was he didn't realise it was 16 furlongs. So that would probably explain why it dropped out so quickly and finished distance. So.
Yeah, it did go out pretty quick. I think we'll definitely see the top two in the Gold Cup next week.
Yep,
so,
totally agree.
Brings us in nicely to the Whitsun Cup at Sandown, doesn't it? So.
That's right, and we'd just like to say congratulations to Ephraim Magoba for his first win with House Beauty, and hopefully House Beauty can go on and win another, and it carried a fair weight too, so
I think it was top weight.
There's no reason why,
just one maybe, add more.
Ransom Nitro 9.8,
yeah,
so
it was second top weight.
It's a pound lighter, so he might be on with a good little horse there in the handicap, so congrats congratulations, Ephraim.
Yeah, it was. It's good, and that race was what's the Whitsun Cup? It's 9 furlongs, isn't it? So that's another one of those specialist distances, but it stayed on well, so that could go up to a mile and a quarter, but that was a 0 to 80, wasn't it? So it's going to have to go up into the big handicaps now, because it's going to get chucked up a good £7 at least, I would think, which is going to rule it out of 0 to 80s. So, but it's got a good horse. And if you look down the results page at that, I don't know if you've got the results page up the same as me, but
yeah, I do.
There's some different named trainers in there as well, isn't there? It's good. You're getting some people that are doing all right. This chap who got his horse in fourth, his horses are starting to run a bit better.
Yeah, that was the fifth week was my best week, I must admit. And that horse, King Nova, it wasn't far away. So hopefully,
you're knocking on the door. I think
keeps away from the handicapper. So
yeah, I think you're knocking on the door. You better get your top hat polished for next week, because you could be winning a Royal Ascot and having to shake hands with the Queen or something. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good. That was good for Ephraim, wasn't it, to get his win? Not only was his first runner, or is it his only horse? I don't know. I haven't seen his name come up much in the.
I did actually click on his name, and I think he's got a few horses in his stable. It's not a big stable, so he's in there having a crack, and he's had a win early, really. So
and I would guess
it's pretty tough to get it.
I would guess
now. First season,
he's had a winner. He'll be working like nobody's business now to get himself a stable full. Because once you've had one, you want more, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
He'll be up there wanting to get some more. So that's good. It's good to get some new winners on the board.
Definitely.
So that was the big group races on the flat then, wasn't it? So good week again.
Yeah, definitely good week, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, it's a bumper week on the flat next week, isn't it? With Royal Ascot.
Yeah, it's huge.
We got lots of races coming up next week, so there'll be some. I can't even speculate who's going to run against who and who's going to run where and who's going to do what. But
we've got some extra races on it. I know we're all calling extra ones, so
yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward to that next week. Okay, so I shall.
I was going to say, I think Timmy is away next weekend, so
yeah, I'll sort of pick up a day's flat for a change. So that'll be interesting. So I'll have to find my top hat as well, otherwise I won't let us in.
That's right. And I've got to look extra good if I'm going in with you.
Okay, right. Cheers for that then, Doug. I'll see you next week in the Royal Enclosure sometime.
We just over with the Queen.
Well, before Doug gets ready for his meeting with the Queen and other members of the royal family, he's got a small task of running through the other races for us in there. What is the fastest run through a sport? And while we're doing that, we'll watch a run through of one of those famous old races we had last week, the Zetland Gold Cup from Redcar.
Just a quick roundup of the minor races over the last weekend. Race 1 was the William Hill Mile Championship. Altered Images for Graham Clutterbuck was a good winner in that race. Race 2 was the Ladbrokes Marathon at Wolverhampton, and that was won by Arco for Thunder Spark. Race 3 was the Bet Victor Extreme Leg 1 at Wolverhampton, and that was another win to make it 2 in a row for Lion Show for James Fowlis. Race 4, the Voyage by Investec Handicap from Epsom, and that was won by Velvet Underground for Kevin Menahan. Race 5 was the Investec Woodcote Stakes at Epsom, and it was a listed race. Stephen Rand's Earths Collide won that one. Race 7, the Investec Wealth and Investment Handicap at Epsom. Crystalline for Joshua Sutherland was a good winner. Race 13, the Betfred Treble Odds Handicap from Haydock. Vinnie Gerard had a good win with Nebraskan Pepper and Salt. Race 14, Atomic Boom for Paul Rhodes, got up in the last few strides. Race 15, the Cantor Fitzgerald Whitson Cup at Sandown. Ephraim Magopa had his first win with his horse House Beauty. Congratulations. Race 16, the Sandown Mile Nursery, and that was won by Frankel Command, Peter Cale. Race 17, the Esher Stakes at Sandown, and Graham Clutterbuck's Moonshell got up. Race 19, the Sandown Listed European Stakes. James Shear had a winner there with Wondering. Race 20, Telesford Handicap from Sandown was a 0 to 100. James Shear was busy in the winner's circle again with Zoe. Race 23, the Welsh St Ledger. That's a listed race, and that was a dead heat between Shoot and Miss Knavesmire. Both trainers were Stephen Rann and Martin Cairns. The Welsh Gold Cup was race 24. Where to Start for Paul Rhodes was the winner. The Foster's Gold Nursery, a 0 to 100. And James Shear, another winner, with Pringle. Race 26, the Market Cross Jewelers Maiden Handicap at Redcar, and Colin Clark had a winner there with his horse Marcus. Race 27, the Zetland Gold Cup at Redcar, a 0 to 90. Good to see Martin Cairns in the winner's stall with Kosovo Girl. Redcar 2-year-old maiden, and that was won by Trillions for Thunderspark. The Betjack All-Weather 2-year-old championship Leg 2 from Southwell, and that was won by Leuenberg Star for Molet Surfer. Race 30, the Betfred MD Championship Leg 2 at Southwell. Strictly Business won for Leon van Rensburg. And the lucky last, race 31, was won by Santee, and James Shear again saluted the judge.
Well, cheers for that, Doug. What a star, superstar professional there. 27 races in 2 minutes and 47 seconds, all round up, and a name check for all the winning trainers. There's only one man can do that, and we all know who that is, and that's Doug. Nice one, Doug. Next thing then, it's a chance to hear from Timmy, who's going to give us a few of the horses he's spotted through those eagle eyes of his as he's watching the racing during the week. So over to you, Tim.
Week 5 for Starters Orders Online League Racing, and what a week it was. Some fantastic horses came out to win, but let's have a look at my top 3 for week 5. Let's start on Monday, and we'll start at race number 1, the William Hill Mile Championship Leg 1, and now this is a horse I marked Miss Leedham. She finished strongly in the closing stages, and I also think she could offer much better over the turf, actually. I think she struggled really on the dirt, and if she makes a switch over to the turf, I really do think she'll be much more prominent in the early stages and into the closing stages. She really had a good kick to finish very strongly, so definitely keep an eye on Miss Leader. Let's go on to my second pick, race 4, and the winner, Velvet Underground. Now, Velvet Underground last time out in week 4, I commentated, she ran back in 3rd. And Velvet Underground just showed her class today again. She was back into the winner's box where she belongs. It was a show of class, basically. She really does look well above average in the field that she ran today. And she loves the turf. So I definitely think this is one for the future to definitely come on. Like I said, I do think she's well above average in the handicap races. So definitely Velvet Underground is one for the big races to come. Let's go on to my third pick, the Investic Derby Group 1, and this was race 10 for the 3-year-olds, Plymouth Rock. Now, at first, when you looked at the last 1.5 furlong, you're going to think, well, Plymouth Rock's going to hold on and cause the upset, but no. It wasn't meant to be. Plymouth Rock faded terribly bad into the last furlong stages, and I was in shock how badly it did fade, because it was travelling quite well. I think it was very hard-pressed in the final stages. I do think if it was a dead pace being set up in front, I actually think Plymouth Rock would have gone much closer. But over a shorter distance, I do think Plymouth Rock will be much more, how can I say, will be right up there into the closing stages. So keep an eye on Plymouth Rock for maybe a drop-in trip or even trying a step-up in trip. But just keep an eye on Plymouth Rock. So that's it for Monday racing. Let's go on to Tuesday. Tuesday racing, my top 3. Race 13, the Betfred Treble Odds Handicap, Nebraskan Pepper and Salt. Now this one, let me first tell you off. At the 4 furlong stage, 5 furlong stage, Nebraskan Pepper and Salt was stone cold last in this field. When they swinged heads for home, it was race over. Nebraskan Pepper and Salt absolutely stormed home, ran on the strongest in the field, and this is definitely one to keep an eye on. It looks like he could, even when he did win, it looks like he had much more in the tank, and he could even stay over further. So definitely keep an eye on Nebraskan Pepper and Salt, especially these handicaps coming up. I think definitely he can pick up a few handicaps more to races to win. Race 19, Sandown Listed European Stakes, Wondering. Now this one was a very impressive win. Looks to step up in class next time, and also in trip. Really won well. There was no questions being asked at the last furlong. There was a few ticks by the jocks, and it was over basically. Wondering won really well. Let's go on to my third pick, and I just want to say this. This is actually the same race as Wondering. Two of my top threes are coming out of the same race. So this is again the Sandown listed European Stakes. Morningstar. Now Wandering did win the race, but it was one of the outsiders. Morningstar was the hot favourite. And this one ran in snatches. Really not impressive. Had a lot of problems throughout the race. He was driven along. He was outpaced. Things didn't go his way. Like I said, he ran in snatches. He couldn't control the pace and just settle down and wait for the right time to strike. So I definitely think let's give Morningstar another chance. He was the favourite for a reason. He was heavily outpaced, and let's see what he can do next time out. He could just now come out and win at big odds. Alright, that's it for Tuesday racing. Let's go on to Wednesday now. Wednesday flat racing, my top three. The Welsh listed St. Leger, race 23. This is my first one. Arch Rival. Now this one ran fourth, but I really highly think that Arch Rival needs much more ground. You could see it picked up towards the end stages again. I think Arch Rival over the maximum trip, over more distance, I really think Arch Rival could be a big danger in the field. So let's keep Arch Rival in mind if he does step up in trip. He's not a bad horse. He is consistent. He runs his fourth, third. He's a decent horse. So let's keep an eye on him. He could upset over further. Definitely keep an eye on that one. Let's go on to my second pick. This is the Wells listed Gold Cup Averio. Now this one was a funny range. I did commentate this race because Averio was outpaced in the early stages, really been driven along at the back of the field. At the early stages when they went around the turn to head for him, I said to myself, Averio has no chance because he was driven along. The whip was already out in the early stages of the race to keep with them, and Averio actually stayed on very nice. So I do think if there was a dead pace basically by the leader, he really needs a slow pace to get into the race, is Averio. If that was a dead pace, I think Averio would have ran a top two. I definitely think over a shorter trip, should I say, and a dead pace, Averio is one to have a look at. He was really being driven along and outpaced. Let's go to my third pick and final to end the week. All right, this was race 27, the Zetland Gold Cup. Kosovo Girl. Now this one made up many lengths at the business end of things. Easy win and have to look. He really looked like he had more in the tank to go on even further to win. He was eased down at the line. I think Kosovo Girl is definitely one to have a look on over this trip again. And very nice horse. Won like a star. So let's keep an eye on Kosovo Girl. But that's my top three for Wednesday and to end the week of week 5. If you guys did pick up any wins, places, congratulations to everyone. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Well, that'll do it for another week then. Week 5 in the book. All the derbies done. Royal Ascot next week. Going to be an action-packed week next week. Will be even longer than this. But need to end on a sad note. There's only one real place that you can leave this week if you're of the same sort of generation as me, and that is with a thought for poor old Walter Swinburne, who died this week. Everybody sees Shergar winning the derby time and time again. Everybody sees Sharistani winning the derby time and time again, with Dancing Brave not quite getting up. But the one that a lot of people forget is Lamtara in 1995, which is arguably his best derby win. So we're going to go out with that one, and we'll see you all next time.
Lamtara behind these, and it's Fahal under Richard Hills who's driving for the line. Just over a furlong and a half to go in the Vodafone Derby, and Fahal has the edge. Here comes Tamori, the white cap on the outside. Quartermaster back in third. Lamtara, the green colours flying the outside and presenting. They're inside the final furlong now, and it's Tamori, the white cap. Here comes Lamtara from the gods. Lamtara takes it. Lamtara, Tamori, and presenting the 1-2.